Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into one of the last episodes of Hog Roundup of the 2025 calendar year. That's Ty Richardson. I'm Evan Kamiko. Ty, can you believe it that December's like almost over and here we are? It's almost going to be 2026.
Yeah, it's crazy. The year's flown by. You've had successful sports in basketball and baseball. Wish we could say the same about the football team, unfortunately.
Yeah, 2-10, not much successful talk to talk about. But we'll get into that much later in the show. We'll have some fun, give you our top 3 moments of the year. We'll talk a little bit about football. College football playoffs this year, but what do we talk about best? That's basketball. That's going to be this guy behind us, Darius Acuff and the Hogs. They're going to head to New Jersey this weekend to face Houston, a top 15 showdown. Let's look at the past week, right? You go to Dallas, you take care of business, you're able to get the revenge. We talked after that game, said it was massive for this team mentality-wise to win. And then they come home, and you have Queens, which is kind of an in-between game. You never know what's going to show up, and they win by, I think it was like 20 at the end, but they were up by 30, absolute foot on the gas in that game. What impressed you about Tuesday night's win against Queens that maybe you didn't think was going to happen?
Well, it's Darius Acuff. It's the guy behind us, 10 assists, 0 turnovers. He's been excellent. John Rothstein pointed out his per-game averages the last few. It's been awesome to watch him expand as a freshman. And he hasn't necessarily turned the ball over a lot this season, but, Evan, it's really impressive to watch him find guys, Trevin Brazile, Carter Knox, who have both had awesome games lately, and even Nick Pringle, who had a number of games that he was playing really under his standards. And Nick's been a part of a Final Four team. This obviously is this freshman kid that is still experiencing college basketball. Best defense he'll play to date this Saturday night, tomorrow. So really excited to see what he can do. And he goes up against a really good freshman guard as well, which should be a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah, Kingston Flemings, that's going to be really exciting. And again, you have a lot of experienced guards on that Houston team. I want to talk about that in a second. But you mentioned Carter Knox and Trevin Brazile. Let's start with Brazile. Followed up a great game against Texas Tech. He didn't miss a shot until 13:52 into the first half. He was on fire, was 7-7 at one point in this game, raining threes. We talk about it week in and week out. What Trevin Brazile are you going to get? It's felt like this has been the Trevin Brazile that in 2023, people were out here saying he's going to be a potential player of the year in the SEC, albeit now it's 2 years later.
Yeah, which you'll take it. It doesn't matter if it was then or now. 5th year of college basketball. Cal, I know, spoke to us right after the game in Dallas about how he's even stepping up in practice as a leader, talking more, which he's a quiet guy. At least it seems like from the outside looking in. For Trevin to have career highs a couple times already this year, 47%, I think, from the three-point line. I know Hog Stats put out. He's one of the few guys that's getting 7 rebounds a game and has already hit 17 threes, which surpassed Jalen Williams. Only Todd Day in a single season has more. He has all the tools. 6'10", can jump out of the gym. The leadership, the question, listen, he's done some stuff this year. You're like, Trevin, like, what are you doing? Like the flipping off the camera in Dallas or the team or slapping the guy with the towel. But at the same time, you take that, the good and the bad, and there's a lot more good than bad with Trevor Brazile. And I can't wait to see, because, again, this is early. What can he do in conference play? What can he do in the NCAA tournament when he gets that opportunity?
And he's healthy, and that's the most important part. This whole team right now is relatively healthy. Obviously, Malik Ewan missed the second half of the game, but that was more illness than anything else. He'll be good to go this weekend against Houston. But we talked about Trevin Brazile, and I love the good and the bad, right? Because the highs are high, and the lows you forget about when the highs are that high, right? Like in 2 months, who's going to remember when he hit a kid at Michigan State with a towel? Probably not anyone. No one remembered it 24 hours later, right? So I think you take the good, and really, as long as he can keep that up, that's the most important part, I should say. And the last guy we got to talk about, Carter Knox, before we get into this Houston matchup. Seeing him finally come on, weight of the world off his shoulders, continuing that good play. It's just been a lot of fun to watch him really sit down and, like you kind of said, embrace his role and be that player that he came back to be and not be anything more than he has to be.
And Cal, again, the weight of the world is like he has a 41-inch vertical jump, and you can't really jump that high when you have that backpack on. So for Carter, who had such a strong ending to the season and postseason, and him coming in, yes, you've got this 5-star kid behind you. You got Malik Thomas as well. You've got other options if you're John Calipari. My thought was, okay, he's going to get these freshmen going early, Evan, and then Carter's going to come on. Now, took a little longer than we expected, but that is the Carter Knox that's capable of going for 20-plus, and Evan, given He can stretch the floor. He's an excellent wing. And he's still fun to watch when Billy Richmond and him. They always seem to find each other. Billy always seems to find him on a fast break lob of some sort. And you could tell, like every time that Carter made a bucket, you could tell how hyped up Darius was. His teammates were. That's the chemistry, at least early on, that we've seen build from this this basketball team. And hopefully, when they do go through a dry spell, when they have a lull in the SEC play, they'll remember, it's like, guys, this is what we're capable of. If you can beat Houston tomorrow night, then that's 3 big-time non-conference wins before you enter SEC play.
How big is that, getting that third non-conference win as we start to look ahead to Houston? How big is it to go 500 in these marquee non-con games rather than to go sub-500 in them when it comes to March Madness and hopefully getting a high seed in a couple of months?
It's going to be huge because Houston could be one of those teams that you compete with for a 2 or 3 line. And you think about Houston being one of the NCAA tournament, SEC tournament, Sweet 16 sides. So you always have to factor that into the equation. Now that's way down the road. That's going to be, again, Selection Sunday, which I think is March 15th maybe, somewhere around there. Either way, the Big 12 and the SEC, you've got a lot of talent in the Big 12. You think about BYU, you think about Houston, Arizona, the #1 team in the country. For the SEC, it's Arkansas, it's Alabama. Vanderbilt, I still think, is undefeated. So the SEC doesn't look to be as dominant as it was last year, but the comparative, they're going to have the comparisons of the Big 12 and the SEC, and you would love if you're Arkansas, when not only the conferences get compared, but when you get compared directly to have that head-to-head.
Yeah, being 2-0 against the Big 12 would be massive because, to your point, you're not going to see as many SEC teams in the field this year because it's just not as heavy as it was last year. But still, you've got to remember the Big Ten is going to be really good. They'll probably send 10 or 11 teams to the tournament. I think they'll run away with that Powerhouse Conference of the Year award if we're going to make that up versus the SEC and the Big 12. And then you'll have those 2 conferences right next to each other. Let's talk about Houston, that Big 12 team we've been kind of alluding to this whole time. Big storyline in this game, DJ Wagner going home to New Jersey. He's from Camden. He'll play up at Prudential Center in Newark, my neck of the woods. What's it going to be for DJ this weekend, right? Like, of course he wants to get active. And him and Malik, I find, in somewhat of a similar predicament because of how good Acuff has been and Carter Knox now has been. That takes away a little production from those guys. And in the grand scheme of things, the team effort, you're okay with that because they're winning games. But how important do you think this is? DJ talked to the media yesterday for him to go back home and have a good performance at the Prudential Center.
He's going to have a lot of family there, which I know he's really excited about. You've had several homecomings for Arkansas players. Billy Richmond going back to Memphis. Then you think about Darius Acuff going to Detroit, not too far, or East Lansing, I should say, not too far from Detroit. And now DJ going back. It's about an hour 30. I mean, you know this better than I do being from there. But this is a cool thing. Here's the thing about DJ Wagner. Let's think about his timeline for a sec. #1 combo guard coming out of high school and goes to Lexington, has a little bit of an injury-riddled season, then comes over as a sophomore. Boogie goes out. He has to assume the full, basically, point guard handling duties. Billy's the backup. So he has been Cal's Swiss Army knife, whether it was in Lexington, he was overshadowed by Shepard and Dillingham, and then here in Fayetteville, whether it's Boogie, Darius, and Malik. So I have so much respect for this kid that was regarded as maybe the best point guard and shooting guard coming out. And he is just, you know what, I'm going to be a team guy. I'm going to go guard the best player guard. I'm going to get to the rack when my team needs a bucket. DJ Wagner is the type of kid that while he's not always going to have the most explosive box score, he is how you wind up with the long NCAA, deep NCAA tournament run. And I hope that he gets a chance to really get some plays called for him tomorrow night.
And DJ got the Hogs going against Texas Tech, had Arkansas's first points, got them ahead, had a really good game as well. And again, we talk about it every week. The boxes are going to reflect what DJ Wagner is able to do. So that's very fun to watch. And afterwards on yesterday, he praised Darius Acuff and was like, I love watching him play basketball. He is one of the best guards in the country. And usually if you're kind of that like older guy, you don't necessarily say that about the freshman. You don't sit here and go, yeah, the kid that took my job is one of the best in the country. But I love the attitude. I love what he means. And what a fun matchup it's going to be watching him go up against Emmanuel Sharp of Houston. What do you make of that kind of matchup of 2 seasoned guards when it comes to college basketball?
Now, you got the season, and then you got the freshman with Fleming. So it's like it's a combination of the young bucks and then the old heads going up against each other. Listen, Houston's going to give you the best defensive matchup that you face all season. Duke's the best team you played. This will be the best defensive team you played. Plus, they'll pound you on the glass at the other end. So how does Darius handle it? We've seen him in big games. Didn't play great in East Lansing, but he's not turning the ball over a lot. I know Arkansas had 14 turnovers in that game against Queens, but Darius had 0 of them. So even when they've had double digits, Darius really hasn't been that accounted for that many of them. So how does he handle the different looks, the different pick and rolls schemes that is thrown at him? There's going to be a lot of different intricate things that he's going to face tonight. Tomorrow night. Physicality being one of the biggest. Just a smaller guard going up against one of the best defensive minds in all of college basketball. Can't wait to watch it.
It's really fun because when you look at the box score, correct me if I'm wrong, but these teams are really even everywhere on paper except where it comes to defense. What I think is going to be key for Arkansas in this game is you've got to get out to transition.
Yes.
You've got to be able to get your offense going before they can set up their defense. Arkansas thrives on transition. They typically score about 89 points per game is where they sit. Houston about 77. But again, the defense is where it lacks. Houston gives up about 57 or so points per game. So getting out in transition, getting up early, they can't go down 10 at any point in this game and think they could come back.
Highest point total they've had all season, 76, and that was in a loss that Houston gave up to Tennessee. Their only loss of the season. So to your point, it's a really good team defensively. Arkansas is number 3 in all of college basketball in fast breaks. So if you're the Razorbacks, you got to force those turnovers and you've got to get out. Malik's talked about it. Billy's talked about it. Everyone on this team knows that when they get in transition, they are very, very difficult to beat. The problem with that is Houston's top 25 in offensive rebounding. So they're not, again, the most explosive offensive team that the Razorbacks will play this season. But if you don't box out, there's going to be issues. And Arkansas has been out-rebounded at times this season. You cannot allow the Cougars to get second-chance opportunities, or you're going to walk away with the loss, and DJ's going to be disappointed, as the rest of the team will be on Saturday night.
And that's exactly where I was going to go and talk about the front court. Nick Pringle finally started to come on a little bit. That game against Queens. What's going to be important and key? You've kind of mentioned it because the bigs for Houston aren't going to necessarily overwhelm you, but what's going to be important for them to really get going in this game?
I think it's Darius getting them involved early. Like in that initial game, Darius had a kick out to Carter who buried a 3. And I was like, okay, the offense started out like missing shots and they're down 5-0. And then that play. So if you're Darius, like Nick Pringle spoke to Darius Acuff, praises just as DJ did the other day, and was like, he gets so many guys involved. He's fun to play with. So you have to, if you're Darius in this situation, you might have a tough 2 or you might have a shot that's a good-looking shot, but if your teammate has it, you know you can get that at any time. Darius has the ability to get all these different shots at any point in the game because he's that good of a basketball player. But if you get your teammates involved early like he has been in the last few games, then the offense is going to be much better, and particularly in the front court like you're talking about, Ev, that's going to be huge for Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan, who have not been as consistent as maybe Cal wants him to be this season.
2 more points on basketball. The first one, how fun is it going to be to see Kelvin Sampson and Cal on the sidelines again against
awesome.
each other?
I mean, I know it's like a brand, like John Shire's not in the Hall of Fame level conversation yet, but he had a Brandon Duke, first Cal and Arkansas, and then you think about Izzo and Cal, 2 Hall of Famers there. This last game, while Texas Tech is not necessarily just this incredible powerhouse, that's a top 20 college basketball team right now. And now this game, 2 Hall of Famers once again. Sampson's had success pretty much everywhere he's been college basketball-wise. And national runner-up. I think that's gone a little, like this team was a shot away from maybe being the national champion last year. And they've got some pieces back. So head coach-wise, this is going to be a fun matchup just like it was in East Lansing.
What's your prediction for the game?
You know, Houston's hovering around a 3.5-point favorite. I think the Razorbacks play better in an underdog role. Not that they can't win if they're the favorite, but I do like Arkansas, and I don't think I'm a homer saying that. I think there's things that you've liked about this team and how they've grown lately. You asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have picked Houston. But I think that Texas Tech win, getting that revenge, the guys that were on the team last year like TB and Carter and the rest of the guys versus the guy that came on, I like Arkansas to win this game. 3-2, the big non-cons heading into that final game against the Dukes of Jane Madison, and then you get Tennessee at home, Ev.
That should be a good one. The Underhogs, hopefully they can pull it out in New Jersey. We got to take a quick break here on PTN. It's not PTN Extra. It is Hog Roundup with Ty Richardson. My God, I am everywhere today. It is Friday. I'm almost going on vacation. That's Ty. I'm Evan. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Welcome back into Hog Roundup with Ty Richardson. That's Ty Richardson of ESPN Arkansas. I'm Evan Camico. Thanks for joining us already. If you haven't, let's talk some fun. It is a great time of the year. Bowl season is here. Hopefully this guy will be leading Arkansas to the college football playoff in 2026. Might be an uphill battle, but never say never. Let's talk about the playoff as itself. what matchup's intriguing? You've got Oklahoma, Alabama tonight, and then 3 games tomorrow in the first round.
I think it's got to be the Sooners and the Crimson Tide. Sooners won 2 straight, one in Norman last year and then the game in Tuscaloosa. There's questions about Kalen DeBoer. Is he going to Ann Arbor? Is he staying put in Tuscaloosa? So that makes it the most intriguing. That's the SEC matchup you have, and then you've got 3 other SEC teams. What kind of Oklahoma offense shows up? Mateer has had a really good start to the season, and then he had that injury and just hasn't been as good offensively. That defense is unbelievable, though. Brent Venables has built really just a specimen on the defensive line. But, yeah, there's a couple of games in the near future I'm excited about.
The winner of that game will go to the Rose Bowl. They'll take on the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll get to that in a second. But then you look at tomorrow, and you've got a great slate of games. I'm kind of upset, and I have a bone to pick with the College Football Playoff Committee and Hunter Yurachek. Why are we putting Miami, Texas A&M at noon? Like, that should be the night game, right?
It should.
Am I crazy for thinking that?
Well, you're not, but they don't want to compete against the NFL. They're going to get blown out in the 4 o'clock out. So you got a 4 and I think 7:30 NFL start.
Yeah.
The Bears and the Packers play tomorrow, and then it's the Eagles and the Commanders. That's the only reason. As much as this is a college football central market in northwest and central Arkansas, elsewhere it's not.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like you. When I saw that initially, I was like, why are we not playing this game at Kyle Field at night? But that's the rationale. Networks, executives' decision. That's just. But for you and me, it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. As a Bears fan, I completely forget that the Bears play. I know the Bears play the Packers, but I kept forgetting that it intersected with college football playoffs. But you've got that early Texas A&M Miami game. We've seen Texas A&M here in person. What do you make of that matchup? What do you like? For me, I kind of like the Canes going into Kyle Field and getting an upset. I think the experience with Carson Beck at quarterback is going to do really well, especially in a hostile environment with a guy who's already played in the SEC. And I don't know if he's played at Kyle Field. I'd have to look that up. But again, I just think A&M, I'll say it, is kind of like last year's Indiana this year. Like, who have they really beat besides Notre Dame? They don't have a massive marquee win. They don't have anyone in the top half of the SEC. I think they're a little fraudulent, and my prediction is tomorrow they'll prove they are.
Yeah, first time they played a really competent team all season, and albeit it was a rivalry game, they lost to Texas. I think if you're Texas A&M fans, while you're excited, you're a little nervous because Miami is a team capable of beating you. And while they have some questionable losses on the season, this is going to be a tough matchup. They didn't get gifted Tulane or James Madison. No disrespect to the Dukes or the Green Wave, but it's just a different caliber of team. I'm picking Texas A&M because I think Marcel Reed's ticked off. Dude not even top 10 finalist. He lost 1 game all year. And you pointed out correctly, they didn't play great teams, even in the SEC. You look at the standings-wise. But I think Marcel Reed's going to come out guns hot tomorrow, and I'm excited to watch that game.
Should be a great atmosphere. Johnny Manziel going to be the guest picker on College Football Game Day. I'm not saying that I like Miami in that. I don't know.
I don't blame you.
Call me a South Beach guy, but I think the Canes go in there and get it done. And then you have kind of the 2 other games. We won't pick those because I think we'll both be in agreement. Oregon's going to take care of business and probably beat James Madison by 30. And then Ole Miss, I think it's going to be closer than the first time. I think it was a 17-point game the first time they faced. So I think it'll be like a 10-point game because I like Tulane. They've played better at the end of the year. Jake Retzlaff finally has it going a little bit. But I still think they're going to lose. Do you think when it goes to the broader discussion of expansion as well as having the group of 5 teams that that's the right decision moving forward to say, hey, let's put in group of 5 teams in over Duke who won the ACC?
I think in order for them to get this contract, they had to go about it. Now it's worked out against them. I'm going to be honest. Arkansas with Ryan Silverfield would give Ole Miss and Oregon a better game than James Madison and Tulane are going to. We saw Tulane get their doors blown off earlier this season in Oxford. That game's going to be closer, but I don't think it's going to be within 17 points. I think Ryan Silverfield could take his team right now from right here in Fayetteville and give those teams better challenges than they're going to face tomorrow. But we'll see what it comes out. I know there's some weird deals with Notre Dame if they're a top 11 or 12. They get an automatic bid, which I know is frustrating for a lot of people. But, the 2 of the 3 games tomorrow, I'm not expecting much of a contest.
I mean, keep in mind, if Ryan Silverfield's Memphis team played a complete game against Tulane, we're looking at this and maybe Memphis is in the college football playoff and this guy isn't wearing that jacket just yet. So who knows what happens. Really quickly before we go, who's your way too early national championship looking at the 12-team playoff?
I hate to say it, and I hope I'm wrong, because I'm sitting across from an Indiana Hoosier. I think it's Georgia. I think Georgia and Indiana play for the rights to the national championship, and I think the Dogs are just too much. And again, there's no more likable player. You know how some kids and some guys grow on you throughout the season? That's exactly what Fernando Mendoza does. And I'm not just saying that because he's right there. I actually believe that. He's been special. He's been fun to watch. Kurt Cignetti's got a swagger about him that is infected in a good way, that football program. But I think Georgia's just got too much. I like the Dogs.
I just want to put it on the record for everyone at home. I didn't pay him to say that.
Yeah.
I didn't pay him to say that. I would love to have paid him to say that, but I did not. I like that too. Obviously I got to be the homer pick here.
Yeah.
Going to Indiana, being living there for years, seeing how bad it was as the worst program in college football history to where we are now. I was just talking a little earlier ago to a buddy who's still in college there, about to come into the industry. And I was like, dude, how awesome is it? And he's like, it is unreal what they've done in this whole run of he was covering the Heisman, all of that. So that was cool to see. But I like Indiana, Georgia. I think the Hoosiers win the national title.
I hope so.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm scared.
I hope you're right. Listen, Georgia's maybe the hottest team outside of Indiana in all of college football. They lose that tough game to Alabama earlier this season, and then since they crushed them in the SEC championship game. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. I just have watched Georgia in these type of games before, and they've gotten to the point where you just feel like you got to go with them rather than against them.
As long as this isn't that TCU Georgia national championship from a couple of years ago, I'll be happy.
I don't expect that. I think what you saw in that Big Ten championship game is Indiana is ready. They weren't ready last year. We saw that, but they are ready this year. They haven't been tested as much as Georgia has, but what that defense was, and help me on that defensive lineman that's going to be out for maybe the season for Indiana that was hobbled or whatever. I'm forgetting his name, but either way, I think that game in the Big Ten championship showed you that they are ready for the moment based on how they stopped one of the best teams in college football in Ohio State.
I believe it was Daly, but story for another time. Yep. We've got one more break to hit here on the Hog Roundup. When we come back, our favorite moments of 2025. Stick with us. Wrapping up shop here on Hog Roundup, Ty Richardson and Evan Kamiko. Ty, this could and probably will be our last show of 2025, crazy enough as it is to say. Let's look back at the year as a whole for Arkansas fans. What are your top 2 moments of the year for the Razorbacks?
So you got to go Gage Wood's performance in the World Series. It's really hard not to include him on this list. What he was able to do with that perfect game was unbelievable. I think for Gage to have a moment like that in the pinnacle of college baseball, you can't beat it. Number one, though, it's going to Rupp. I mean, there was not a fan base more charged up, with more vitriol, with more anger, with more disgust than the opposing coach, which was your coach, John Calipari, walking in. I'm a basketball guy, so that's got to be my number 1.
I love it. I would almost flip those. I think my number 2 is probably, I'll put basketball as a whole. I think that going into Rupp Arena set the tone for that Sweet 16 run, showing that team, hey, we can do this. We are who we said we are. And being able to, again, I know it was a heartbreaking loss to Texas Tech, but getting there and getting out of the first weekend, if you're John Calipari, was such a big thing. So I think that's my number 2, and my number 1, I think, is Gage Wood. Nothing was cooler than that day. I mean, we were sitting in the press box in Omaha and just in awe of what he was going to do and what he was able to do. Throwing the no-hitter, I loved when he went like this across his chest.
Yeah.
I don't think that moment in that game meant more to anyone else on that team than Gage Wood. Growing up in Batesville, wanting to represent Arkansas, and coming away and being able to do it.
And it would help correctly if I said no-hitter instead of perfect game. I don't know why I was in my mind. But, yeah, just him, Arkansas doing that was awesome.
19 strikeouts. I remember when Hagan had the 17 strikeout game a couple of years ago, and I was like, there's no way anyone's going to top that. And then Gage goes out, does what he does, biggest stage in college baseball. Yep. And it was just awesome to watch, and just being there in person is one thing that, we get to cover a lot of things. We get really lucky with this job, but that's probably one of the coolest things I think I'll ever cover in my entire lifetime. 19 strikeouts, college football. Ty, take us home.
Well, he's kind of a quiet guy. I got a chance to meet him, funny enough, a couple days before, his parents, Brian and Chastity, and didn't say much. I guess he was locked in. Love to see it.
I loved after the game when he was like, I just didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, do you realize what you just did? You threw a no-hitter with 19 strikeouts in Omaha, and the only thing you're going to say on the broadcast is, and in the press room is, I just didn't want to go home.
Very
Love
quiet.
It.
Man, a few words.
Love it. Ty, anything else as we kind of take a wide look at this, about 30 seconds left in the show, when it comes to everyone who's watched this show has been going pretty much all year now, so we're excited for 2026 and what's ahead. anything you got to say to wrap up 25?
So if this guy can bring us to a bowl game, Coach Silverfield, I know there's doubters, including myself. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you prove me wrong this upcoming football season. I know we're a long way away, but please prove me and the other doubters wrong.
That would be an amazing 2026 if Arkansas can get back to the top. To everybody at home, thank you so much for watching the Hog Roundup in 2025. We have had an absolute blast doing shows here in our studio in Northwest Arkansas, in Omaha, in Tennessee, you name it, we've been there. In Nashville. Feels like we've been everywhere with the show. We can't wait for 2026 and to show you what's in store. For Ty Richardson, I'm Evan Kamiko. We'll see you next year on the Hog Roundup.